The Way Through the Forest. Inspired by the quiet lessons hidden in nature. The old monk awoke before dawn, as he had for decades untold. Shoto sat for a long moment on his thin straw mat, observing the silence. Then with creaking joints he rose, washed his wrinkled face, and dressed in his faded robes by the light of a single flickering candle. Stepping outside, Shoto paused as he always did to bow towards the forest. The ancient trees stood solemn and immutable, dark silhouettes against the purpling sky. To Shoto's ears, their hushed voices seemed to whisper promises of wisdom to be found in their depths. Taking up his wooden staff, Shoto set off down the little-used trail into the heart of the woods. He walked at an unhurried pace, the cushion of pine needles gentle beneath his bare feet. The forest air smelled loamy and rich. A light mist clung to the undergrowth, moist against Shoto's skin as he brushed past. At a certain place along the path, marked by a lightning-split cedar, Shoto turned off and descended a rocky slope. This concealed side trail led to a sheltered glen ringed by towering firs, tranquil and isolated. Shoto settled upon a flat stone amidst swaying wildflowers and closed his eyes, surrendering himself to stillness. Birdsong and insect hum filtered through the trees as the forest came to life under the rising sun. Shoto's breath slowed, his senses drifting into meditative awareness. He observed each thought rising within his mind, acknowledging but not grasping. Like leaves floating upon a river, all would pass in time. Here in this secret glade Shoto had sat in quiet contemplation nearly every morning for the past 60 years. He had discovered it as a young seeker fresh from the monastery, just embarked on the hermit's path. Back then Shoto had still clung fiercely to countless desires and expectations. How swiftly the decades had washed them away, like carving out a canyon grain by grain. Of all the secluded spots Shoto had found wandering these serene woodlands, none called him more than the glen. Something in its atmosphere of profound tranquility resonated with his soul. It seemed to Shoto that the great trees stood as patient guardians around this sanctuary, guiding wayfarers to wisdom through their silent presence. When at last he opened his eyes again, the day had grown bright and warm. Shoto took a moment to offer thanks to the stillness itself. Then he rose from his stone seat and climbed back up the slope to rejoin the main trail. Ferns tickled his ankles as he walked beneath a diverse green canopy, needles, scales, leaves, all whispering their endless cycle of life and death. Shoto's path emerged from the forest onto a ridge that overlooked the sea. Here he paused once more, resting against a stunted pine to gaze out across the waters. Calm jade waves rolled endlessly to a horizon where sky and ocean blurred. Watching their steady advance and return instilled a sense of abiding peace within the monk's heart. Continuing on, Shoto crested the ridge and arrived back at his tiny timber hut nestled against the edge of the woods. He drank cool water from the trickling spring nearby, then gathered greens from his garden for a simple repast. How many times had he performed these same small acts across the years? Yet in their repetition lay a strange continuity that brought comfort. That evening Shoto lit his paper lanterns and arranged their amber glow throughout his one-room hermitage. Then he settled onto a worn cushion to steep a pot of tea over a brazier's crackling coals. The earthy aroma curled steamy tendrils through the air. When at last the drink was ready, Shoto carefully raised the bowl in both hands and blew across its surface before taking a cautious first sip. As he did, a profound realization blossomed within Shoto's mind. This taste, this moment, could only itself for the first time once. Never again through infinite lifetimes would circumstances converge exactly thus. Shoto set his tea bowl down and stared off in wonder. A single sip had imparted the essence of life's transience and miraculous uniqueness. Much later, Shoto lay down to sleep on his straw mat. He listened to the muted roar of waves echoing up from far below. A peace suffused him as deep as the forest's most hidden glen. Each step along the way through the woods had carried him to this place of hard-won understanding. Though the path stretched endlessly onward, for now Shoto rested, at home in the present. The quiet majesty of the forest, with its sense of buried secrets and silent teachers, inspired this tale. Nature conceals boundless wisdom for those who walk slowly and look carefully. Like the old monk, we may find truth down winding trails, within sheltered glades, atop ocean ridges, and even in a sip of tea. Each step leads to the next if we walk with care and awareness.